You produced a lot of records,
Man.
but one record you produced that changed my life.
Before 1998, I wasn't trusted to do gospel music, so I was working in secular. I had to eliminate the hunger because I was tempted. So I identified women and money ain't gonna get me. If you don't identify a distraction, it's gonna show up. And you're gonna be wondering, you're gonna be thinking it's the will of God. I truly believe that the future versions of ourselves count on us to make the right decisions.
There's nothing worse than watching someone do something that they have some ability to do, but they're not really the best for that.
Yes.
So now everyone has to adjust around a mediocre component.
I wanted God to get the glory because this is the project that I prayed about because gospel wouldn't give me one. Every time I would submit music for an artist, they'll say, oh man, we love this. Oh, this is hot. But we're going to let such do it.
You said something last night, and it may just be me, that I was like, you said everybody should not have the click
That's an Asaph way.
in their ear.
That's an Asaph way. Yes, I don't believe the only ones that should have the click, in my opinion, and I stand firm on this, is the drummer and the MD. I believe a drummer should be trusted. You follow the drummer, or he shouldn't be playing. Oh, you said yeah yourself. Yeah, you shouldn't be playing.
Welcome back. This is Life in a While. I'm Michael Bethany, and I've got an exceptional man right here with me. A brother who's just incredible.
Bless you, man.
Now we're hanging out in Cape Town and having a great time, and I had the illustrious privilege. Is it the right word to say that?
You know, that's what they, when it's just,
To have this time with my friend, my brother, Asaph Alex Ward.
Amen. Yeah. And what's funny, did you know I was Alexander?
You know what? It's on my phone. Your name is Alexander on my phone.
Is it really?
It is.
Why did you put Alexander?
I think it did it automatically somehow. I don't know why.
No, that's the Antichrist. If you ain't know it's Alexander, your phone said no. It's Alexander. No, Alexander is my middle name. The funny thing about that is my dad wanted to name me Asaph because I was the fourth child, and I had three siblings above me.
Yeah.
And what happened was my parents were having a rocky time. This is what they tell me. And they say that they got pregnant with me and they wasn't ready for me. So I was kind of like a surprise. So I was the kid that didn't have a bedroom. I didn't have, I had to have the hand-me-downs and stuff. But my dad said, he had investigated that Asaph meant bringing together. He was a gatherer. Wow. So my dad wanted to name me Asaph, but my mother wanted to name me Alexander because she was like, I'm going to be great. So they argued back and forth about my name. Then my dad said when I came out in the labor, when he helped me, he said he prophetically saw that I was going to be over music. And then that's when and my mother says, well, that's still great. So then after they came up with Asaph Alexander. That's great. So I ended up pleasing both of them with the name. But
That's so dope. That's so dope. Okay, so we just we're gonna get right to it because your father had the right word. It was absolutely correct. Because you are like a master producer, man. And let me just say this. So we were hanging out the other night, and whenever I'm around him, like I've adjusted like to being around people who I just admired.
Oh,
right?
man.
Like I've gotten used to that.
Okay.
But certain people have done things in music that have affected me so deeply.
Wow.
That when I'm around them, I just I have two different things going on. I want to hang out and chill because I'm cool with that.
Yeah.
But the kid in me has this memory.
Oh, wow.
And
that's so cool.
You produced a lot of records.
Man.
But one record you produced that changed my life was that Kim Burrell Everlasting Life record. And I've told you this. And so even right now, we've already talked about it. I've watched all of the producer tales on Instagram. But when I'm sitting around you, it's like, I think of my friends and we talk about you like,
man, that's a blessing.
Kevin Bond, Aaron Lindsay,
yeah,
Asaph. Like you're like, your name is so dope though, because it's just one name. When you say Asaph, you don't think anybody else in the world.
This is very true. I was at NAMM one year, and this guy came up to me. He was a drummer, and he wanted to take pictures. He said, "Take a picture with my son," and I took a picture with his son. And he was so excited. I was like, he was a little 4-year-old kid. I was like, yeah. I said, "What's his name?" He said, "Man, his name is Asaph." You know, he says, "I named him after I heard the record."
What record?
I said, "Wow."
Was it Kim Burrell's record?
Yeah, no, I don't know what record it was. He just said, "I'm going to name my son that." I said, "Well, you got to be careful what you name your kids because responsibility comes with a lot of different things."
Yeah.
But I thought it was interesting. I was like, wow, somebody named a kid after me that don't know me. It's like very interesting. But
Bro,
God
that's
be the glory,
impact.
man, just for everything. Yeah.
That's the impact.
Yeah.
And one of the things I've learned about a producer, so I was here last year and Warren was here. And he mentioned, he's like, I think he may have said, "Man, this is my first time in South Africa or in Africa, period."
That just in another country. It's
Yeah,
like,
and I was like, it didn't dawn on me. He's like, "I'm a producer, man. I can't travel the world. I have to produce albums." And just by nature of the responsibility of what you've been given to produce, like all these amazing records, you could have gone on tour. You can sing, actually. You could have been an artist if you wanted to be. You could have done.
they say that. Yes.
I heard you sing.
Yes. I could have been. Yes.
You could
Yes.
have been.
I just have a theory about singers. Either you are a singer or you know how to sing.
Ooh.
So because
So
of
which
that,
one are you? Which one
I
do
know
you
how
think
to sing.
That's true.
But a singer is a singer.
Even if they don't know how to do it.
Yeah, you are a singer.
Yes.
You someone, it's undeniable that you're supposed to be on somewhere singing and other people hearing you sing.
Mm-hmm.
That's what a singer is for me. Someone who knows how to sing is someone who technically has a skill set to sing, but they're not a singer. So, I mean, that's just me. That's my quirkiness.
But you produce vocals, so you know how to sing.
That
so you
helps
can
me with producing vocals.
produce vocals.
Yes.
So you've produced so many records, and by nature of that, your lifestyle, like you like Warren was saying, you can't travel all over the place. because
Very true.
You have to be in that room.
Yeah, I turned all of my traveling down. When I knew I wanted to be a producer, I was 15 when I knew I wanted to do what Quincy Jones and David Foster and them were doing. But at age 17 is when I made the decision that I was going to be a producer. And that's one of the challenges I had because most of my peers and friends were playing for plays. They were traveling every week. They was making a good $2,500 a week. And I was trying to produce and be in the studio making $200 a Sunday. So it was like I had to sacrifice making a lot of money with traveling because people don't understand touring is good money when it's consistent and there's a budget there for that. But producing, especially if you're not sought after, you're not going to make no money on that. So that was one of the things, traveling and touring and going out the country. Yeah, I'm going to Australia. I'm going to Asia. I would hear all my friends. I'm just like, man, I'm in the studio this week. So I couldn't try. I didn't go out the country a lot until later on in my career.
Help these people out. So you're not a name dropper.
Okay. I'm definitely not.
But I need you to help me with some names.
Oh
So I just need 10. And I need 10 highly recognizable, which is now hard for you to do, albums, artists, so people understand. I've already said Kim Burrell, one of my favorite albums of all times that really shaped a lot of what I thought and conceptualized as it relates to like vocal placement and runs and harmonies and crazy music. All right, the Kim Burrell. Dorinda Clark Cole.
Hey guys, I hope you're enjoying this episode. And if you are, I want you to seriously consider becoming a part of our Life in the Wild tribe. That's right. We've got a tribe just for you. If you are creative, an artist, an influencer, a worship leader, or a musician, and you're looking for a community, searching for a place to grow and become the best version of your creative self, this is the place for you. I want you guys to take advantage of our devotionals, our blogs, and our mentorship Bible studies, curated Bible studies for creative people that cover the topics that affect us most. So click the link in the description below so you can get your free resources. Also, send me an email. I would love to hear your feedback on all the things we're doing at Life in the Wild Podcast. Don't forget to share, like, and please subscribe so we can make an impact in the world together. God bless you. Let's get back to the episode.
Kim Burrell, Dorinda Clark Cole.
That's
Let me see. Donnie McClurkin.
Donnie McClurkin.
Fred Hammond.
Fred Hammond.
Okay, the Clark sisters.
Okay, you gonna wait? That's number 5. You were
No, I'm just, to think about all these records, Murray Brown Clark, Crystal Aiken. I worked with, on, faith-based projects with, like I worked on the Christmas record with Mary J. Blige with David Foster. So I did that. And of course I did Endow Me, which had the Coco, Little Mo, Faith Evans, and Fantasia was on the same song. And then of course, Vicki Winans, Marvin Winans, Rance Allen, Noel Pye. It's hard. It's crazy. I've done over 80 albums, like over 900 some songs published. So sometimes I forget the different ones.
No, of course you forget.
It's just
Me, I've done a lot of albums too. I get that.
Yeah.
I totally understand.
No. It's Twinkie Clark's album. Now the Clark sisters, period. I've worked with all of the sisters. The only album I didn't get a chance to do with the Clark sisters is I've never really worked with Jackie, who's a phenomenal family artist and singer, but I think she worked with Tone and a couple of other people.
Yeah.
But I got a chance to work with all the other sisters. Oh, and Karen. I never really did a solo thing with Karen.
Okay.
Sheared. But Dorinda, definitely I did Twinkie. And then, but the thing is, with a lot of these artists is there's multiple artists that like participated on projects. I did one people don't know nothing about with Donnie McClurkin. He had Mary, Yolanda Adams, CeCe Winans, and him all on a song. I did a song. It's all the same song. And so I'm used to being called to do special op type projects where I got to blend in multiple artists and stuff like that. But I've done, it's so many, please forgive me if I forget artists, but there's a lot of artists that I've actually worked on that I didn't mention. I
only asked for 10.
It's leaving me.
I only asked for 10. But listen, that's just the number of 900 songs published, produced songs. That's crazy. Now, for the people that's watching, this episode of Life in the Wild is going to be like it normally is, because we're going to talk about things that will be applicable to you in your life and like how you're navigating space.
Okay.
And I feel for you, you are definitely from birth, as you said, called by God prophetically, like spoken over by your parents. And they knew you had a purpose. Your father knew that you were going to be a producer, essentially. He knew you were going to have that responsibility and influence. But along with 900 records comes a huge sacrifice on your part.
Yes.
So I kind of want to start with like, how did you get to producing? But I want to get to it.
Yeah, let's go.
Because I'm like, your life is exceptional. Like, this is not something you accidentally do. It's not something that you get lucky about. It's not something that you have to make some major decisions. So let's start with this one.
Okay.
And my son, we did a podcast with him, and he was just sharing how he is so happy that when he's around me, the people I'm around speak into his life. Mm. So he's talking about, like, he's been around with me and Fred and Kirk and Dr. Tony Evans, and anybody, you name them.
Yeah.
And he's in the room. And just the other day, he's in the room and you start to speak into his life. Mm. And you started to share something. I want to jump off with this. You started to share with him how when you were about his age, because he's 17, you had to make some decisions and identify like how your life needed to be different because of what you knew you had to do. I want you to start there.
Yeah, see, a passion, at a young age, I was very nerdy when it came to understanding. Like, I needed to understand things. If I can understand something, then I can really move on it. And I didn't understand covenants at that age, but truly my commitment to music, I had made a covenant with being a producer. I wanted to do it, first of all, for the Lord. And I wanted to, as a young musician, we want to be a musician. That's just kind of how it works. We start off a musician. I started off as a drummer. I wasn't good as my brother, but then I moved to keyboards at age 13. So by the time I was 17, I knew I wanted to be a producer. So at 17, I knew I wanted to be a producer. And that commitment that I made to be a producer meant I had to give up some of my, I would say, dreams as a musician. Because, see, I started as a musician. And to be a musician, you want to be skillful. You want to have the chords. You want to have the virtuoso. I wanted to be virtuoso. Because at age 13, the first person I heard being that way was Kevin Bond. He was virtuoso and he was young. He was a young MD. I tell this story all the time. Me and Kevin we real cool. But it was like I knew I had to give up some things, meaning I can't be sitting in my house just working on scales and runs all the time. Because I needed to know how the kick drum and the bass supposed to react to one another. So I had to go through a different curriculum than what a musician goes through. A musician sheds, but a producer thinks about the whole picture. So I'm thinking about why does this chord sound like it's on an island by itself? And then I started learning stuff like a crash cymbal can make a chord special, or it can make it not be special. So now I'm thinking about how all the instruments relate to one another. I had to study that. That took me away from plays, touring, being able to solo a whole bunch and everything. I'm a musician and I'm not watering down who I am and what I do, but I'm smart enough to know that I don't have as much information as some of these other musicians. So that's when I learned early that producing is about making decisions. It's not about being just a creative that can create sounds and beats and everything. You got to be able to make a great decision. Do I play this song so I can shine, or do I hire your son because he can play the song better than me? Do I put him on the song and then he shines for it, but I'm the producer that brought him to the song? So pride had to be worked on.
Man.
So these are all the different kind of sacrifices nobody's talking about.
This is life, bro. So the difference in just what you just said, like, you can play, but if you didn't have the wisdom and the understanding or the foresight that your role was to make decisions, or even the humility to step back and let somebody else play
and make the song make it better.
Because
it's crazy.
Here's the thing. I read credits. You know what I don't really remember? I don't remember what you played.
This is very true. Well,
I just remember you produced it. Like, I know you're creative, like genius. I don't remember what you played. Did you play the organ on the record? Did you play it? You were telling me about one song, because when you played with the Kim Burrell record, I didn't know who played what, and I just didn't remember.
Well, the Kim Burrell record, let's go back to Everlasting Life. That's a little different because I pretty much played 90%, 85 to 90% of that album. That's all me. Well, because understand...
Which is a flex.
Well, this is the deal.
Which is a flex.
What I heard in my head, it wouldn't be fair to force a musician to interpret that. And I demo a lot of my songs first before I even let a band hear it. I'll play their parts and be like, this is how I hear it. Now, how can you join this party and make it better? So with Kim's record, I played most of the keyboards and stuff besides Prodigal Son. That's Jermaine Nelson. He played all keyboards on that. He's so phenomenal. But then I did the organ, I did the keys, I did the strings, I did the octaves, I did everything on that record for the most part, except the songs I felt like Kim needed to play. Kim played Oh Lord, You've Been Good to Me. That's her on the piano. She's playing piano on Holy Ghost. I found out that I sound better on the organ behind her. So I took me off the piano and I put Kim on the piano. And then that's me on I Keep Holding On. That's just me and Doobie Powell playing I Keep Holding On. I'm playing bass, everything, and Doobie's on the drums. That's just two-man band. Yeah, and then it sounds like that over and over again. That's all me,
You played everything?
Well, not everything. Let me take that back. When I say everything, we're talking about keyboards and stuff, right?
Okay,
all the keyboards and tracking.
It's because keyboards meaning pianos,
organs, auxiliary strings, flutes,
bass.
Well, I didn't play bass. Joe Smith played bass on Over and Over Again.
Okay.
I used real bass players. I was the only one.
That's true.
I Keep Holding On was the only one I played bass on. That's because I couldn't get someone to move like I wanted them to move. So I kept my demo bass. And Doobie played on top of it, and it just worked. And I'm just like, why change it?
All right, so here's a point I want to draw out of that. And when you say, you make decisions whether you're playing, and I'm saying like I don't remember which record you play what, it's not because you can't play. Like, I'm glad you brought that up. It's because humility is not about ability. Like, some people think, oh, you ain't got no choice but to be humble because you can't do it. It's like, no. It's understanding, like, there's a hierarchy of ability. And even though you're a great keyboard player, you recognize that your highest contribution is not behind the keyboard. It's the ability to make decisions and produce, whether that means you play or someone else plays, because just because you can play an instrument doesn't mean you make the best decisions for the record.
Oh, 100%, because it's all about fulfillment. See, I found out I was fulfilled knowing that the production was done correctly. Sometimes if you're a musician trying to produce, you're not fulfilled by that. You're fulfilled by playing. I was not fulfilled by playing. That's why it didn't matter. Like Dorinda's I'm Still Here, Dorinda Carco's I'm Still Here, we needed to redo it. And I started playing it in the studio first. And this is like in 2000, around that time. And I realized it just wasn't enough. And I had to go back in my mind. I remember in 1996, I met Michael Burrell. He was playing for Kurt Carr, and I've never heard no one play stuff like that. I was like, this kid is crazy. Because he was just playing, acting like nobody else in the room. I was like, this kid's crazy. So I was like, you know what? Michael Burrell probably can play the song better. So, of course, he was in L.A. It just made sense. Brought Michael in. That's when me and Michael Burrell's relationship got stronger, because he came in, and I sat and watched him play I'm Still Here behind Dorinda, just overdubbing it, and it was just the most amazing thing. And I was proud of my decision. I wasn't jealous. Now, there's that innocent envy that says, man, I wish I could do that. I wish I could think like that. But it's no jealousy. It's like he played it, and it was just a beautiful thing. And to this day, that song is blessing people. And I made that decision. And Michael Burrell gets to shine for playing it.
Yeah.
But I'm fulfilled that I created that dynamic. So you got to be fulfilled by the right things. If you have a hidden agenda of fulfillment, it can bite you.
Yeah.
You know,
because you will never admit that.
No. It's embarrassing to admit that. You don't want to admit that you wish you got something, and you wish. What happens is people try to sabotage people out of things when they feel like they should have it, and you'll never hear when they doing that unless somebody spilled the beans. But
oh no, because they gaslight.
Yeah.
It's always like, well, I have to do this because this is the way it needs to be, and and we all know that this is not true.
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
There's nothing worse than, and I had to learn this even just in my own life. There's nothing worse than watching someone do something that they have some ability to do, but they're not really the best for that.
Yes.
But they have the power to make the decision.
So true.
And you can't do anything about it. So now everyone has to adjust around a mediocre component.
Yes.
Because it's a person of power and influence. And as a producer, you can do whatever you want. But the ability to decide for something better than what you would have done, even if it's not better because it's not that you can play better, it's like, that's different. Like, it's not even like a skill thing. It's a skill set thing.
Yes.
Like, some people have a certain skill set.
Yes.
And you're looking for a certain skill set for a song that you don't carry. And it's like, you could go in the room and try to shit and be like him. It's like, well, no, let's get the skill set that's best for this.
Yeah. Have you noticed, like, even with in the hospital field, in the medical field, have you noticed that a brain surgeon really won't operate on a heart, or vice versa? And when they went to school, obviously their curriculum was different. So what happens is, I wanted to be a producer. That curriculum's different than a musician's curriculum. Yeah. So I always considered myself to stick. That's the sacrifice. When I made a covenant with producing, when I decided that, Lord, I want to be a producer, when I told the Lord, this is what I want to do, and this is what I want to do for you, then I had to go down that road of that curriculum. I couldn't go down the musician curriculum. That also meant the things that distract musicians, like money, women, things like that, because I'm a male, so it's going to be women, and the thing is, just those distractions could not be a part of my development.
Okay, now this is what you told my son.
I did.
You told him at that age, I identified everything
that I like everything that can throw me off.
He's 17, so you told him this just the other day.
I did.
So what did you identify at an early age you had to eliminate? Or somehow
I had to eliminate the hunger because I was tempted financially. Like, you know, I was tempted to say, hey, you could be making this. You could be making that. And then the other thing was women. The first, I really wasn't I'm a sapiosexual. I'm more into intellect. So I'm not out in the streets like that, but I'm still a man and I'm attracted to women. So I realized that I needed to curve that because I know most of my friends at the time, they wasn't practicing. They wasn't working on their craft. We're calling it mastery. They wasn't working on mastery or anything because they was trying to figure out who they gonna hook up with, who they gonna get with. Because once you get a taste of that lifestyle, it's hard to stop it. So I identified women and money ain't gonna get me. You know,
wow.
And I was intentional about it, and it helped me fight it because I identified it. If you don't identify a distraction, it's going to show up. And you're going to be wondering, you're going to be thinking it's the will of God. You're going to be like, oh, this is what my life is, man. I got this, I got that. I never forget the first time I was a class clown at school. And I was friends with females and all of that. But the day that they found out I can play the keyboard, it just changed everything. The next day at school, it was like, can you play me something? And oh my God. It was like, this is the devil. They can touch your forehead and you ain't thinking for a week. You know, it's like, you know, at a young age, women can do that to you.
Let me tell you a story that I've experienced. And feel free in this conversation, you can ask me a question. You can,
okay.
It don't got to be one way.
Okay.
You come at me. Because I love your questions too.
Okay.
But when I was a kid, you know what I used to resent? When I would go to a church and I would walk in, I was nameless. Sit down, nameless. They call me up to sing. I can't get out the door.
Oh, 100%.
Everybody want to talk to you now. Like, and the girls like, oh, you cute.
All of a sudden, you
to
cute.
me,
yeah,
I resented that.
Because you don't want that.
What I wanted to feel like, as I felt like because I was already struggling with insecurity.
Okay.
And what y'all just taught me was, you still don't like me.
That's how you process that.
I processed it as, you don't like me. I had this, I would say her name. I would say your name. And that's,
oh, Lord, help us today.
This girl.
Lord, touch her.
This girl dumped me on New Year's Eve and watched night service. Now, I'm in my church. She's at church. And she called me at church. This is back in the day when we had like real telephones.
Yeah.
And she called me at church, or I called her. Somehow we got on the phone, and she dumped me that night. I'm like, you wanted to be with me. I'm like, wait, you know what I'm saying? But how I internalized that was, she never knew you.
Yeah.
She saw what you could do.
Yeah, she took you back to the store.
Why'd you have to say that?
No, because when you shopping and you see something, you take it with you, and then when you realize that thing is no longer that,
no,
it
wasn't what you thought it was.
Yeah, that's what that
in her defense, as a kid, I was a very churchy kid.
Oh, I got you.
Oh, I was extremely churchy. Like, I would go over her house and I would talk to her mom about the Lord. I think no, I would go to her house and she was like, she want to go outside, like, I want to talk to your mom. So tell me what the Lord's been doing in your life. Tell me, look at God today. I was a kid. I was so old. But I was like, I would walk from my dad's church to her church, and I wouldn't hang out with her. I would just go to church. Like, the kids would go stand outside and talk, and I would be in service, like, you know, singing a solo, and just like, but that was me. But how I internalized that is just a resentment, because I felt like it was my talent. It wasn't really me.
Yeah, I agree.
When you say that's what that reminds me of.
No, I totally agree with you. I was the same way. The girl thing, I didn't want that getting out of hand, because I was an MD at age 14. I was over grown men my whole life.
Yeah.
You know, rehearsal Tuesday, y'all better learn these songs. I'm talking to, guys in their 20s.
Yes.
And because of that, what went along with that 20-year-old thing is I was always exposed to actually older women. So I've never had an issue with being desired. It's just the fact that was something I know for a fact the enemy wanted me to get tied up, because you can lose time. I have a thing called time thieves. I try to identify a time thief. What can steal your time away? And women was one of them. They was a time thief, and then, a whole week go by and you didn't practice. You didn't do this. So the club scene, hanging out, going out after a musical, because that's what we all did. We was lukewarm like crazy back in the day. I was like, I'm at home on my sequencer. I'm trying to learn and not go out. And it's like, man, you missed it, man. They was out tonight, Doc. They was out. I'm like, I don't want that energy, because if I get that they were out tonight energy, I'm not gonna be what I needed to be. And I just said, Lord, I know you're gonna bless me, And that's what that was. So yeah, women and money was something which is common for most of us, but I knew that was gonna keep me from being a producer. So I was proactive with trying to avoid as many as possible opportunities to let money get to me and women get to me.
So let me give you what we talked about just a little earlier, what Life in the Wild podcast is about. It's really the crux of it is Luke 180. And so I'm thinking about your life right now, and I'm comparing your life to you are John the Baptist as a baby, and before he was born, when his father had lost his voice because he didn't believe that what the angel was saying. His father spoke for the first time when he was prophesying over his son. So I think about you as a baby, your father prophetically speaking your name over you when you were born and saying what you were going to be. And then you growing up into that. But then in verse 80, it says that John moved to the wilderness and lived there. And the first thing that triggered my thought when I read that passage is like, who told him to move to the wilderness? His father prophesied, all that stuff is true. I see it, but I see nowhere from the angel speaking to his dad speaking to anything where anyone told him that he had to live like this. He had a personal revelation of what the level of sacrifice needed to be for him to fulfill the prophetic word that his father spoke.
I agree.
So for you, like when you say at that age, you realized there were some things you had to sacrifice, it was like you were learning to embrace your own wilderness. Now, a wilderness is not the same thing as a desert.
Yes, I agree with that.
Now, hold on a second, because this is so important. Because the other day, the thought just came to my mind. Wilderness and desert. Wait a minute, that's not the same thing. Because sometimes people are talking about the wilderness in a certain way. It's like, no, you're talking about a desert. Yeah. A desert is a dry, hot place, like that picture on the wall where there's no vegetation.
Yes.
A wilderness is not necessarily that. There can be water. A wilderness is just an environment that's not cultivated by men. In many instances, it's uninhabitable, right? It could have a desert in it, but it also could have an oasis in it.
Yes.
It also could have a river in it, like the wilderness of Judea.
This is true.
Right? The Jordan River's right there. That's not all desert. That's a wilderness.
That's true.
So when I say you had to create your own wilderness, you had to create your own environment where you can step away from the temptations of the world and live in a space where God can organically grow and mature you so you can be exactly what he intended.
Man, listen here. I had to do that at age 14 and 15 to be popular to adults.
Yeah.
You know, if someone came into town to do a concert, they called me to MD it. I'm 14, I'm 15. You know, I didn't go to none of my proms.
Whoa.
Because that night of every prom, there was some prominent concert that was happening.
Yeah.
And I was fine missing the prom because I always still had in my head, you know, I always wanted to go, but then at the same time, I'm like, what would happen if I don't go do this concert? So I missed my proms. I don't regret it. But at the same time, you can't help but think, man, I missed my proms, but that was a sacrifice. I would have lost on any of those proms. Whoever I would have went out with, I already know I would have lost. And I was trying to hold on to not being sexually distracted in my career. So I was really just doing everything I could to avoid it. And the sacrifice of identifying that, I didn't know that the Lord was helping me identify it. I just thought I was making a good decision to do it. That's why when I saw your son and when I heard your son, I immediately identified with that age. I said, oh my God, when I was 17. Because I'm going to tell you, I'll admit this, my brother went to college at Florida A&M and he was popular. They called him Tuba Dude. He was in the marching band and everyone knew him. They called him Dad, So I went to go visit because I was going to go to college. And I went to visit and I'm like, yes, but it was no adult supervision. It was girls everywhere. And everyone knew my brother. So they was just like, oh, that's your little brother. Oh, he's cute. Oh, he played. Went to a couple of parties and stuff. I said, I came home and I cried to my mother and my father. I said, I can't go. I can't go to this school. I was like, they're going to keep me from being a producer. If I go, my parents were sad that I decided not to go to college. And I don't put this past, I don't encourage this, just being real to anybody. I still went to school after that, I actually, and that's another podcast. I went and I studied a lot, but I couldn't go. And they said, well, son, the only way we're going to not allow you to go to school is you're going to have to promise us you're going to be one of the top 10 producers in gospel music.
Whoa.
And that was a promise that my dad said I had to make. So that was a promise I had to keep. So I didn't go to school after I graduated. I just went straight into shed mode of being a producer because college was going to ruin me. It was going to mess me up. It was like Candyland. It was like there was no supervision. It was just crazy. And I'm not saying a kid shouldn't experience life like that.
But that was,
I just couldn't do it.
That was you understanding like your path. Like even with my son, like we're kind of really wrestling through right now. Like he's not in college right now, but he's planning on going to school. And I had to give him some space.
Period.
Because as a parent, I want to impose a certain thing on him based on society or based on what I did. And I have to learn, like, I have to hold this stuff loosely now because he's starting to gain a sense of his own purpose and identity in the same way John did, the same way you did, the same way I did, that is not going to be something that his parents can tell him. Like God, at a certain point, God's going to tell you what you need to know, what you need to do. And I have to respect that. We're my own son. So I respect what you're saying because it may be great for some people because a lot of people go straight to college and it's great. But for you, you understood.
I did. But if you really want to know the truth, if I had an Asaph come talk to me when I was 17, I would have did both. I would have had the understanding that I need to protect this wish that I have, this desire that I have. And they would have told me, don't let the women do this. Don't let the girls do this. Identify with what distracts you and da-da-da-da. The same talk I had with your son, if I had someone come and have that talk with me, at that age, that was my answer, is to not go because I didn't have no one telling me that I could do both. What I was hearing is you're going to do this. We're going to have fun. You're going to pledge. You're going to do this. And you're going to do this. It's going to be party. And I know a lot of my friends went to college and they're upset now because they went to college and they feel like they're not doing their passion after college. Some of them got good jobs, but they're not happy because the thing they're passionate about, they're not doing. So I heard mixed stories. And then I got guys that are doing their dream after going to college. But if this is something we will never know. But if an Asaph would have came and told me what I told your son, I probably would have did both.
Okay, so here's the thing. We don't have that story.
No.
Because that didn't happen.
It didn't happen. It doesn't exist.
Okay, so let me, I know I have some friends who did not go to college, who are wildly successful.
Yes.
At what they do. So here's the point I'm making.
Yeah.
I for some reason in our society, if you ever start to say anything that sounds like "don't go to school," you sound like some terrible person.
You're a bad influence.
Like you might as well be selling drugs to kids.
Yeah,
like, that's not the point. Here's what we understand. Whether it be some of the wealthiest people in America or in the world for that matter, did not finish college or didn't go, and it's not because it was good or bad. It's knowing what's best for you in a moment. And I feel like understanding like who you are today sitting in this chair. Like I have an example. When I was a kid, I wanted to join the Navy.
Okay.
Okay. And it was like a huge thing for me. Me and my friend Stacy, we went to Ponderosa to meet the guy, the recruiter. We sat down, he bought us all the chicken. You know, you ever been to Ponderosa back then?
Oh yeah, Ponderosa, absolutely.
The noodles and chicken.
Yeah.
I'm just, you know.
It was about the crust.
It's all
I don't know about that.
It was so good.
We haven't eaten.
We have not eaten.
So go ahead.
So I leave the Ponderosa. We're gonna do this buddy program. And the reason I wanted to go to the military is because I knew I didn't know how I was gonna become a responsible man. In my mind, all I could rationalize is if I go to the Navy, I'm gonna learn how to be a man. So I'm getting ready to sign up. I'm driving home. I got my little raggedy car. And I hear the Holy Spirit speak to me so loud. One of the few times in my life where I've shared this with the Holy Spirit, because I was headed in this direction. The Holy Spirit told me, do not do this. And I'm driving. I'm like, I got so scared. I never called him back. I didn't call Stacy. That was my friend. I never talked to anybody again. I never brought it up. I went ghost. Which was easy back in the day because there was no cell phone.
Yes.
You can ghost people like
no social media.
No social media.
MichaelBethany quit.
Like we called his house phone and that's all you can do.
Yeah.
Show up in my church maybe.
Yeah.
But I totally ghosted it. But it was God's direction for my life. And even though that seemed like, well, that's a responsible decision, young man. But I knew because the Lord was showing me. Now, had I gone to the Navy, I wouldn't have met my wife. If I had not met my wife, if I would have been in the Navy when my father died. I wouldn't have been there.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't have joined that church that changed my worship leading style.
Yeah.
Because I learned all these things I learned that created artistry and ministry and all that stuff, I learned during the time I would have been in the Navy. And God had other ideas to develop me that I wasn't aware of.
Yeah, isn't that something? That's just the truth.
That's the truth.
We don't know I always say, we don't know what we're doing. Like, God knows what we're doing. Like, we had no idea. Like, even when I did the Everlasting Life record, I thought this was my first gospel record that I'm being trusted to do. And I'm like, I had no idea that close to 25 years later, it's still impacting people. I had no idea that it was going to revolutionize things. I didn't know that it was going to secure a production career for the rest of my life.
What year was that?
This was in 1998. By 1998, before 1998, I wasn't trusted to do gospel music, so I was working in secular. You know, I learned a lot of things technically with equipment and sonically, the do's and don'ts of the studio while I was doing secular. And people always say, you know, I never say that's where I'm supposed to be. I don't judge people for doing anything, but I know the Lord allowed me to be out there to learn. I truly believe that the future versions of ourselves count on us to make the right decisions, you know, and that was I got to tell you this. What probably encouraged me the most about that Everlasting Life record is I was inspired at the same time. I was studying William Kennedy with the Yellow Jackets and Russell Ferrante. That's really what number 6 interlude is a tribute to doing Yellow Jackets.
Yeah.
My brother started doing 6A. It wasn't really happening in gospel. Everybody's doing it now, but back then to do that wasn't happening, right? So, and Russell Ferrante, you saw the producer tells on that. I was really like inspired by the Yellow Jackets on that interlude. So when I went to a Yellow Jackets concert, it blew me away. It was great. And I went backstage. They let me go backstage and meet Russell Ferrante, and I was just fanning out, you know. And we had a good conversation. And then he said, "Man, it was great talking to you." He said, "What's your name?" I said, "Asaph." He says, "Asaph? You mean like the producer Asaph?" And I was like, "Yeah." Like, he said, "Asaph Ward?" I was like, "Yeah, that's me." And then he went in his backpack and he grabbed his Walkman and he had Kim's Everlasting Life CD in there. And he says, "You're this Asaph Ward?" Oh my God. I said, "Yeah, that's me." I was paralyzed at the moment. And then he says, "Hey, Jimmy," he's calling all the Yellow Jacket guys over. this is Asaph Ward, man. Now, this is what got me. This is when I knew the Lord does what he wants to do. They didn't hear themselves in that record.
Oh, my goodness.
Here I am thinking I'm paying homage to Yellow Jackets, and they're saying, this dude, we got to do some stuff like this. I'm like, you don't hear yourself? Y'all don't hear. But I started learning then that God lets people hear what he wants them to hear. If you let him if you let him drive and have access to your gift and you do it for the kingdom, he will allow people to hear what they want to hear. I've had so many people tell me different things. Somebody say, oh my God, the way that flute is playing on this song, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, I didn't use a flute on that song. I got tired of correcting people. All my projects, people would hear something that I didn't do. And I said, you know what? God lets people hear what they want to hear. And then I just said, I just got to fall and stay in line with him. And he'll keep letting, that was my superpower, that having God by my side and never turning on him, he was going to allow people to hear what he wants them to hear. And that was my superpower. Not hiring the wrong person, not hiring the right people, not trying to just wreck my brain on how am I going to stay relevant. How do you stay relevant after 80 records? With half of those, more than half of them are female artists, how do I make them all sound different? It was God. It wasn't me. He makes people hear what he wants them to hear. So anyway, that was interesting. That was my Yellow Jacket story. And I was just I went home. I couldn't believe it. I was like, they listening to me. Same thing happened with Earth, Wind & Fire, Shaka Khan, of course, Whitney Houston,
yes.
Chick Corea, all of them, Dennis Chambers, all of them we got invited to Prince's house. I didn't go. Dave Chappelle messed that up for me. Like just weird things happening at the house. I'm like, if I go to Prince's house and they liable to hit me on the head with a bottle and I'd wake up in a room or something. I was thinking of the most craziest things. I should have went, but I didn't go. And little stuff like that. Kim's record, she encouraged a lot of people. God used her to minister to people that other gospel artists just won't listen to, won't minister to, and yeah. I was a part of that.
But so let's talk about creativity for a minute. Okay. That's one of the most creative records. Okay, I'm gonna go on record. And this might be controversial. Maybe this might be not a hot take. I'm just saying, to me, especially at that time, that was one of the most creative gospel records I'd ever heard.
I would agree with you.
Like da 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 da. Like what place does this song have on a gospel record? But y'all did not. This is the encouragement to me as a creative person. Is like, think outside the box. Like what's in your heart, what's in your mind, that's God breathed. Like all that creativity, and you got to just play and like let all that out.
Well, it was. This is a scary word for many people, but if you can trace your intention in everything you're doing, that's going to determine if God can breathe on it or not.
Ooh, okay. Because unpack that for us.
Well, the truth is, my intention for creating this music wasn't I'm gonna kill him on this. It wasn't, man, I'm gonna do it my way. I'm not gonna listen. What I literally was doing was, I'm like, here's my opportunity, Lord. Lord, you removed me from the secular industry. You told me to come back and work with you. Here I am. This is the first record I'm doing. And it was like, he gave me all of the creativity already. So I took who Kim was, what she's available to do, and I created music around that. And that's just one version of it. There's so many creative guys out there that if they can process it properly, they can create a Kim Burrell Everlasting Life record based on what God gave them. That was my everlasting life. That was me merging with the skill set of a Kim Burrell and creating something around it. She's a jazzy singer. She's also a churchy singer. She could do a little bit of all of it. There's a classicalness in there. There's different things. And so I created, things to complement it. I knew that she's special. So if the drummer's going to wild out, the bass don't need to wild out. If the bass is going to wild out, then the drummer don't need to wild out. I had formulas of how I'm going to put her in her best light. So for me, intention is important. I wanted God to get the glory because this is the project that I prayed about because gospel wouldn't give me one. Every time I would submit music for an artist, they'll say, oh man, we love this. Oh, this is hot, but we're going to let such do it. Oh, we're going to let such do it. We're going to let such do it. Nobody will let me produce. So I went out in secular because they will let me produce it. You know, the enemy will say, oh, they don't want you. You come on over here. But, you know, I learned some things and then I listened to the Holy Spirit when the Holy Spirit said, get back over here. I mean, I left. I won't even tell. That's another podcast. Tell you.
It's a whole nother story.
Because, yeah, Boyz II Men was my last. I was working with them. That was my last thing. And that was a very interesting time. I just left. And I asked the Lord to do something, you know, because the last project I was working with them on, the artist ended up going platinum and it was on TV. It was on national TV. The person told the story about me and everything else. And it was on Ken and I Were Weighing show. I'll never forget. And they brought that check down the stairs. And I was like, I gave that up. I gave this up. And the devil was saying, see, you gave it up. I was like, Lord, you got to do something. You told me to come back here. And a week later, bam, Burrell Everlasting Life.
So tell me, okay, since we're on this, let's just go ahead and finish the story. Since we're on this, how did you get the whole record?
Okay, so
I'm sorry, I'm indulging on this right now because this is like, I got to get this out.
Well, the thing was, if I can fast forward to the process after it was understood. First of all, I was managing Kim at the time.
Okay,
it was a short time. I kind of helped garner that, just take care of the negotiations of that deal. With that, I was allowed 2 songs. I was invited to the table for the first time to be able to produce 2 songs. Because gospel didn't trust me, I was going to be smart. I was like, I'm going to demo 10 songs. They certainly are going to like 2 of these 10. They got to like 2. I took the club model. You know, people go to the club, they like, I'm going to ask 10 women for their phone number, and at least out of the 10, one's going to give you their number. So I'm like, out of these 10 songs, y'all going to accept 2 songs. So when the record label came down, at the time, that was Frank Cooper and Max Siegel with Tommy Boy. When they came down to hear the record, I was playing the 10 songs so they can pick the 2 I'm going to start with. Because they said, Asa, we want you to start the tempo of this record, and then we got all these other producers we're going to use. I was not meant to do the whole album. But what happened was they was listening to all the songs, and they didn't understand what they was hearing. They was looking at each other. They was like, whispering. And I was looking at the Bible. It was like, they were shaking their head. And then when I asked them what they were saying, they was like, well, we don't know how to market this. Like, how do you market this? Like, what is this? And me and Kim, we was like, yeah, like, you like it? To us, it was ABC. To them, it was like, what is this? You know, and I think about it, if you go back in time and listen to what gospel music was doing, it wasn't doing that. No. So we broke some rules, a lot of rules, right? But they looked at each other and said, finish all 10 of these. Just finish all 10. And I had nothing to do with them saying that or doing that. And, you know, some at one point thought I sabotaged them from working with her. I didn't do none of that. I demoed 10 songs. And the songs you hear on that record today, I demoed all of them. And they said, finish these. And that's how I'd end up doing the whole record. And God did that for me. God did that for me. I believe if other producers would have been on that record, it would have been phenomenal, but it would have changed the revolutionary aspect of the record.
That was for you, that was for Kim, and that was for me. Okay, that record was for me. Okay, all right. I'm gonna stop. I'm gonna switch. Okay. I want to switch subjects for a second.
Okay.
I want to help people.
Okay.
Because one of the things you have done, and you're dropping so many gems. So thank you.
This is great.
So something you told me last night at dinner, you were like, a tip you gave me.
Okay.
You were talking about live bands, like how to record. I hope you're okay with this. I want to talk about some of the things, like as a producer.
Absolutely. I'm here to share, man.
Let's share.
Yeah, I'm here to share, man.
I got some friends, Kevin. I hope you're watching because I'm asking questions for you. And people that I work with, I want y'all to listen. But you told me last night when it comes down to like, okay, so when a band, like modern day band is playing, we have in-ears, like monitoring systems. In those in-ear monitoring systems, there's a click. And all it's doing is keeping time like a metronome. just keeping time.
Yeah.
So whatever the time is, that's what it is. If it's 4, 4, 6, 8, whatever the beats per minute are, that's what we hear in our ear to keep everyone on the same time.
Yes.
And then you also hear whatever else you need to hear. I need to hear the singers. I need to hear the music, the piano, the guitar, the drums, whatever. You build your mix in your ears so that you can stay on track with the song and play your part. You said something last night, and it may just be me, that I was like, you said everybody should not have the click
Yes, absolutely. That's an ace of way.
in their ears.
That's an ace of way. Yes, I don't believe the only ones that should have the click, in my opinion, and I stand firm on this, is the drummer and the MD. And actually, it's not the MD, it's the BD,
the band director.
the band director. They should have the click. Now, if the MD, who's doing vocals and other stuff, if they're doing something else, they can have it. But I believe the drummer should have it. And if the band director wants to have it, they can. But I'm going to hold that band director responsible for being a good steward over that click.
So why do you say that?
Because the truth is, if all of the band, if the guitar player, bass player, drummer, organ, aux, mains, amongst all other instruments, if they all have the click, they are going to interpret what that click is doing. They're going to quantize themselves to the click.
So the logic is if we all quantize ourselves to the click, then we'll all be right.
That's what we're thinking is going to happen because we're professional. But if the bass player wants to play behind the beat on something, he's not listening to the drummer. He's listening to the click. So it's kind of like if the drummer is not absolutely just perfect with the click, when he drifts, the band should drift with him. If he speeds up, they should speed up with him. But that's not the case. If he drifts, the band ain't going with him because they're going with the click. Woo. Or they're going with the loop. And then no one's going to pay for that besides me, because I'm going to get back into listening to everything. And I'm just wondering, why is this loosey-goosey? Like, why isn't the band together? So the band lick's supposed to be ba-da-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-da-ba-ba. I just made up something.
Yeah.
If that's the lick, then everybody's not doing ba-da-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-da-ba-ba. Somebody's doing ba-da-ba-ba-ba-ba-da-ba-ba-da. Somebody messed up because they heard the click differently. So now I got this accent we came up with that's not special. So when I fixed the drummer, because he wasn't right, maybe, now everybody's still wrong. But I should be able to fix everybody. I should be able to grab everybody. And if it's just move everybody up a fourth of a frame, everybody should lock into that click. But instead, they're all over the place because they wasn't following the drummer. They was following the click. I believe a drummer should be trusted. You follow the drummer, or he shouldn't be playing. Oh, you said, yeah, yourself. Yeah. You shouldn't be playing. And to me, it's all about high level decisions.
Yeah.
The band is amazing. You got amazing guys who all sequence at home. Why y'all got a click? We ain't all used to have a click.
Ooh, okay, wait a minute. Okay, so now let's land the plan on this one.
Okay.
Everyone should be listening to the drums for time.
For the time, for the tempo.
For the tempo, so that if the drum ebbs and flows in the course of the song, we're ebbing and flowing with the drummer.
With the drummer.
So that if something's out of place, everything's still in the same place.
Yes. Because the average ear is not going to hear the ebb and flow. They're going to hear a band.
And we're not listening to clicks.
No.
The click's not in the music when you finish. It's not.
Listen, someone that the world's never going to experience is who you following.
Okay, hold on. Say that again. Help me. What do you say?
Something that the world will never experience or hear is the actual thing that the band is following. That's a problem for me. The drummer, he's on the SWAT team. If the drummer, I look at the drummer, somebody got to come from the ceiling. Somebody going to come from the back door. Somebody going to come to the front door. Somebody's going to be hiding around the bushes for when somebody comes up. Everyone has a place to be. The drummer has to have its own thing. I count on the drummer to keep the band in sync. And if everybody else is coming through the back door, the villains are going to get out. So I feel like the drummer needs to be trusted to secure the room. And if the drummer can secure the room, everybody else can come in. But if everyone's looking at something in the room that's not important, the click. What records have you heard the click on? When you when you go to Apple Music and you play a song, do you hear a click? We are trusting a thing that we never get to hear. The drummer should trust that thing. That's who his direct report is. The drummer reports to the click, and everyone else reports to the drummer. Well, this is my theories, my little metaphoric theories, and that's how I'm able to have tighter. I've used over 150 musicians on all my records. If you go to my records, you don't see the same band. I don't have a camp. If there's a ton of professional musicians out there that if they don't know each other, they should be able to play on a record because they're professional.
Yeah.
The only thing that's going to bring them together is they got to play as a band. You're not playing as a band. You're playing as a compartmentalized band because the click is who's driving.
It's separating there.
Yeah. In concerts, you're not going to hear that. In concerts, you're going to be so glad you're there because the artists are singing and everything else. But if you got to go home and watch, that's the end of that. Anyway, I have a problem with clicks.
Bro, listen, that right there. Okay, let's pick another one out the bag. Help us. Give us another producer tip, wisdom. What do people get wrong on records that you notice all the time? Like, if you do this different, everything comes together.
Well, there's a few various things that I actually do, but what I do know for a fact is, I have morale conversations.
Yeah,
this is why a lot of people like using their camps because they don't have to go through morale. They know their people. I've worked with musicians that actually, some of them got best friends they like playing with. Some of them play with different people on Sundays. The way you play with this artist on this weekend, don't bring that person to my recording. Identify the personality. This is one of the reasons why I demo everything. This way they can hear what I'm actually hearing in my head. But I think from a production standpoint, there's the music versus the vocalist. Yeah. That's a big conversation. Mm-hmm. My goal is for the band to know that y'all's role is to put the singer in their best light. And I have that conversation. And I talk about things that can keep the artist from being in their best light. Yeah. To say, okay, perfect example. So let's just say you got a song that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 3, 4, 4, 2, 3, 4. I identify in a tag where the singer is singing. So if the background says, da, 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 lead does this, da, 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 da. So basically on 1 and 3, the backgrounds are singing, and 2 and 4, the lead is singing.
Okay.
It's going to be important that the guitar player knows this. It's going to be important that the right hand of a drummer knows this, because if they're going to play percussively, I would prefer for them to do it while the backgrounds are singing. Because while the leads is singing, your job is to play what's going to complement what the lead singer is doing.
See, that is something I've never heard anybody ever say.
Yeah, this is things I've learned because we having fun in the show. I'm hearing everything, but then I'm getting home and I'm like, why is something's not working out? There's a fight. Yeah. There's a fight. Then you got the horn players. They're finding holes. And that's another thing. I won't let the full band, I don't let guitar and horns. I try my best not to let ox, guitar, and horns. They don't play until all my vocals are done.
Because you want to make sure they don't fill the space.
Yeah, they need to. I mean, in a live situation, they'll be reacting to what's happening on stage. So why not create that environment?
You simulate a live experience so that choices are based on what you want them to play around.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll do main keys, click, and a bass line, and then I go straight to vocals. I go straight to backgrounds. I go straight to leads. I don't let the leads hear everything. They're
leads that early in the production?
Leads is singing to a loop, piano, and bass line. And I produce them with it. Now, if it's a song that needs some hump on it or they need to feel the beat, then I'll program something that like a beat or something to give them that feeling, but I won't let the band play on top of that until they hear vocals. Because musicians, contrary to what you all believe, musicians do care about what the vocals are doing. Most of the time, they don't know what the vocals are doing. They don't know what the vocals are doing, so they're playing based off the arrangement. So yeah, that's something that's important to me. I make sure the band understand your goal is to put the singer in their best light. Also, I'll have a conversation with the artist, and no shade to anything, but I'll let an artist, I ask them, what is your favorite instrument? What drives you? You know, some of them say, oh, it's the bass. Oh, it's the bass. Or they'll say, oh, that drummer. Oh, that guitar player. Oh, the main keys. It's the chords. I get all that information before I select one people, because if the bass player drives you, I'm going to pick a special bass player for you. Really? And then I'm going to build the band around that bass player.
See, that's just different.
Because I can get more out of you. It's inspirational. Yeah, it's all inspirational. And think about it. If I'm going to do over 80 records, they all going to sound alike if I don't come up with formulas for the actual artist. So that's all branding.
That's good.
So I come up with formulas, and then I have another rule, and it ain't no secret to me. I don't mind saying it. I have to find out who the secret weapon is on the record. This is the guy that comes on the roof. What's the sound that comes from the roof? Sometimes for me, if that's a guitar player, then I'm going to level out the rest of the band and make sure they're more pocket guys.
Yeah.
You know, if it's a bass player, I'm going to make sure the drummer can hang with that bass player. You know, if it's the drummer, I'm going to make sure the bass player can play pocket enough for that drummer. I strategically put people together. I just don't explain why I put them together.
Do you explain to them why?
No, I'll tell the secret weapon guy what he's here for.
See, you sound like one, they always talk about like NBA coaches play like a psychological game. Like,
well, you know, it is that, because the truth is, if you're not careful, if your secret weapon, if you're a melodic person, then we know that if you care about a keyboard player being able to go wherever you go, okay,
I'm with you.
If you care about that, then that keyboard player needs to know that that's what they're there to do. And what that'll do is, because I did a recording, I'm going to tell you, I did a recording where I had two amazing keyboard players playing on it.
Yeah.
One was on the organ and one was on the keys. And they were fighting because I told the organ player to play a certain way. But the organ player couldn't play that way because he heard the piano player kind of playing that way. So I wasn't hearing what I wanted to hear on the organ. I kept going back, no, I told you to do this. I didn't know that it was because he was reacting to the rest of the guys.
Yeah.
So I was like, once I had that conversation and I said, he's doing what I asked him to do. So I need you all to go around this and make this happen. That's when I realized I need to start strategically doing this going forward, because if everyone don't know the assignment, then they're going to be feeling weird. They're going to feel like that guy's showing out. He's doing too much. What? No, that's what he's supposed to do. Now, what are you going to do around that?
I mean, I think so many people don't realize what a producer's role is, because there's a lot of strategy in what you're talking about.
It should be. Everyone doesn't. If you're thinking about the full picture, it has to be strategy. If you're thinking about a genre and you're just thinking about, and nothing wrong with just feeling good with music. I've created music that I didn't know who it was going to go to. So anyway, there's that, So it's formulas like that. But ultimately, you want to put the artist in their best light. Bottom line, what puts this artist in their best light? If I'm dealing with a singer that don't have information, they don't do runs, their vibrato's too fast, but they sing great, not doing much vibrato, and they got a great tone, I'm going to build everything around that. Okay, so let me do this. I'm getting close around out of time, right?
Yeah.
So
here's something. I got one last question.
Okay.
On behalf of all the artists out there, singers, artists, give me some advice. You just give it straight to me. As an artist, I released an album last year. Album's doing pretty good.
Do you want me to take my assessment of you and say something to you, or you
can't give everybody advice.
or is this in a general question answer? Is it for Michael Bethany?
Give it to Michael Bethany.
All right, so this is what I observe over time.
So scary. I have no idea what he's going to
Yeah, I think what I would do if I was to level you up, if I was
level us up.
if I was to level you up, your rehearsal time would be built on getting your heart rate up a lot, and then recording you in rehearsals and putting you in the red, and actually get you used to singing with your heart rate up. Because what happens is
That's good.
this version of you can sing something right now and knock everybody out, but there's a different version of you when the lights are on,
That's true.
when the music's going, when the people were screaming, and then God, there's all these tools. That's funny. But I was about to say it, worship of the Lord.
No,
I looked over there.
Don't look at
We're in Africa. So, but when you add up all of the things that go on when it's time for showtime, adrenaline is going to kick in.
That's right.
I would have you work on regulating your adrenaline. And the only way to do that is to have you run, do push-ups, do squats, do everything. Now
rehearse.
Yeah, so you can get used to performing and singing
At that intensity
with your heart rate up and with that adrenaline, because you automatically are a consistent singer. But when you add adrenaline to it, it could easily cause a person, this is not just you, but it can cause a person to speed up. It can cause their heart, they're panting and they're trying to get it together. They still got the same skill, but now that adrenaline is participating, enjoying the party of the execution.
Right. That's true.
So I wouldn't, that sounds really weird, but I would only have you do that. As a coach, I would have you only practice with your heart rate up and get used to doing that.
That's great advice. All right. Well, that is all for this podcast today. I have to make sure I take that advice, man. Thank you, bro.
No, man, you're amazing. You're one of my favorite singers. I tell the world about you. I said, this is one of the most consistent singers you're ever going to meet. And it's funny we never worked together, but, I don't think that things are just happen.
We're going to change that.
We got to change. We changing the world and helping other people. So
I just want to say thank you to Asaph for just sharing everything. Like, this has been amazing. The stories, the wisdom. Thank you for the offering of your life. Yeah. The decisions that you made to be where you are right now. You've blessed us. You've really changed my life with what you've done. So this means a lot to me.
Thanks for having me, man. I enjoyed it. We got to do some more and talk about the other stuff.
We got more to talk about.
Yeah.
I know you guys were blessed by this. So listen, like, share, subscribe. There's so many people that need to hear this. Your creative, musician, friends. If you got kids or musicians, they're not too young to hear this. Share it. So all this wisdom don't go to waste, okay? Share this with everybody. I'm almost speechless, man. I got a lot to process.
Well, I'm going to be doing some producer. I got a thing called Asaph Way. I'm going to be taking on 12 people each month to mentor them in real time.
Heard that. You're
So
sponsoring me.
Yeah.
I'm one of the 12.
It's going to be great.
Like, share, subscribe. Peace.